hello and welcome to Autodidactic. Obviously, I'm Campbell, and today we have another chat. We've got Melissa from Hawaii, out in the tropics. And we're just going to have a bit of a chat about everything, really, what's going on in the world, frequency, time, connections, all this. What is reality? That's probably what it's going to get down to. So welcome, Melissa. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Campbell. Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, yeah, we were just talking that you used to have, or I don't know if you still do, but you were making videos on YouTube sort of 10 years ago or so, and you sort of have stopped and you're sort of contemplating what to do. Everything's changed, in the last couple of years, and it's like, what direction do we go in now? So, yeah, so
Right.
what kind of stuff were you putting up?
Yeah, so it was it was called Remember Your Divinity. And it was all about learning how to remember who you are, raise your frequency, and how to play the game to win. And so it was just sharing my own journey. And then, you know how it goes as you raise your frequency, you get the downloads and you get the information, and then you integrate it, and then you can share it with others.
Mm.
So it went from, I think my first video was called No Clocks, No Mirrors, Just Feel Your Way Through the Day. So that you weren't tied to time, you weren't tied to looking in a mirror to see how you felt or see how you looked. You were basing everything off of how you felt. You weren't tied to time with anything. You were just allowing your intuition and your inner knowingness to guide you through your moment by moment experience.
Yeah, being errant, as our friend Jason would say,
Exactly.
right? It's
Exactly.
and I had someone else say to me, never be on time, always be late or early so that they can't see where you are, right? Because they love routine. And
Right.
I've never been able to wear a watch for some reason. Like I get a watch and they just stop working within a few weeks, or they break, or they just it's bizarre, right? So
Yeah. And then they don't keep time anymore. I don't know if other people are noticing that, but for a couple of years, time, yeah, they're not keeping time.
yeah, well, scientists have come out and said that the days are getting shorter. I mean, they've said by like, fractions of seconds, but they're confirming it. But yeah, there's something strange with time going on. I mean, that's interesting. So clocks are going out, are they? More often?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty crazy. And then by the time I finished, I think my very last video was Unlock the Wisdom in Your DNA.
Okay.
So by as you're all of everything that we need to know about this game, both inside the matrix and then the ability to get outside of it is all within the DNA. And then that's when you can get into the
Yes.
information outside of it.
So yeah, like the keys, the
Yes.
DNA, the keys.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Nice. All right. Well, why don't we start with an easy question like, how do we win the game?
Yeah, that's a good one. Wow, where to start? So it's about raising your vibe, right? So we have there are multiple layers, right? There are different dimensional levels. From my journey, I've come to the understanding that there are 11, and we want to get to at least level 5 to get out of our script. We're basically in our routine and our script and unawake when we're born. Some of us remember some stuff here and there, but you're wiped when you
Right.
first come in, right? And then through the process of waking up, hopefully, you start to notice the little post-it notes that you've given yourself along the way, or you notice like the movies that come out and they give you information, or you notice the syncs in things, or like you talk about, you'll hear something and then you'll just kind of put it to the side for a little bit and then come back to it later. Things like that, like having the ability to notice and sense a ping and then go, okay, I don't know exactly what that is yet, but I know it has value. And then putting that somewhere so that when the other part of that comes in, you can put the
Yes.
together.
Oh, sorry, I've got a bit of reverb on my microphone. Yeah, that's what I do all the time. I talk a lot about don't judge stuff, right? Things,
Right.
as soon as something's right or wrong, you've lost it. You can't get any more info. But if it's just interesting, then it just sits in your subconscious until something else connects with it, right? And then you start forming this picture. Um,
Right. Well,
yeah.
yeah, and that's the whole thing. The judgment, the only thing that we should be judging is if something is good for ourselves. So we do
Yes.
need to judge.
I
Like
yeah.
we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, only focus on positive. Well, then you're not going to do any shadow work. So,
I
there's got to
totally
be.
agree. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like, you have to judge, right? If someone's running towards you with a knife saying, I'm going to kill you, you want to
Right.
judge that they're a threat and get out of there, right?
Right. Oh no, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to
I'm going to
sit down
meditate them
and think
away.
good thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a big thing, is coming to the realization that this whole game is based in duality. Left, right, right, wrong, black, white, yes, no, life, death, all of it. The key is neutrality, because when you have the two opposing polarities, no one's ever going to win. You have to rise above that frequency into another realm of neutrality. And then from that space, we consciously choose, how do we want to feel, regardless of what our external circumstances are. So even if the shit's hitting the fan, can we in that moment be mature enough and confident enough in ourselves and in our skills to maintain the frequency that we want to be experiencing, and allowing our external circumstances to catch up with that?
Yeah.
And then eventually it will continue that way.
It's like if you, oh gosh, you sound, it's like if you believe, or if you are your physical, personality avatar, your car, your house, your money, what happens to you when you lose that, right? So this,
Right.
if you're level, you can have it and lose it, and you're still the same person, right? Because you understand
Exactly.
that, like we said at the start, it's all frequency, right? All this stuff is just, it's not really what we think it is. And it's not
Right. It's a
the way we
dream.
think it is. Yeah.
We're in a dream within a dream.
Dream a little dream. So
Yeah.
you said before, you touched on you know us, our higher selves, leaving markers and post-it notes. So how do you see this? Like obviously this is a simulation that we're in. So are you thinking that we choose to come in, and before we come in, we leave ourselves notes to help us to give it our quest or whatever it is?
Okay. So, all right. So let me back up to how I perceive this whole thing to be.
Okay.
So first of all, we are source. We are source. There is nobody above us. There's no God above us. There's nothing above us. We are source, no separation. Then we fractalize ourselves to come in, and there are different aspects of source that do different things. And some of us are players. We play games, we play the matrices, and there are multiple matrices out there. And this just happens to be one that we're in. And it's a game, and we know exactly what we're doing. We wrote the game. We knew what the game was about. We knew what we were putting on the line before we came into the game, what we were betting, what the wager was, and that we would win. Because in essence, the game is very easy. The game is very, very easy. All you have to do, stay in the present moment, align all of your energy bodies, so your conscious, your subconscious, your emotional, and your physical, with um, your unique vibration, because everybody has a unique frequency. So align all five of those together, stay in the present moment, and then that's when you're going to have all of your powers available to you. And it's in that process, it's in the process of learning how to stay present and learning how to raise your vibration, that all of the healing happens. Like, that is your purpose in life, is to raise your vibe. Everyone says, oh, is it a job of this or that? No, your purpose is to raise your frequency. And in doing that, everything else will be shown to you.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, that makes it simple. So, I mean, it sounds a lot like it's really, we're sort of wiped when we come in here, and a lot of it is just, remembering, like putting back together who we are and seeing that we are these multifaceted beings, not just this physical person. Because we see it in the world, right? People who think they're just physical, they seem to have a pretty hard time with it. But people who sort of can see more, and that we're more, and there's different things in play, tend to, I guess, get in the flow more. So it's basically about, I mean, and so this is the question that floats around a lot, is if, sort of what's the point of getting your memory wiped and coming back to just remember who you were before you came in, if you know what I mean?
So if we would have remembered the game, okay, let me back up too. Not everybody has souls. Okay. Most people are NPCs, right? There are not, in comparison, it's a fraction of us who have souls, period. So, so if we remembered how this thing works when we first came in, it would be ridiculously easy. There'd be no challenge, no game to it, no nothing. We'd just be like, really? Okay, yeah. I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to do this. You know, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to eat meat. Blah, 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 you know, like whatever the things are in order to raise your vibe. And it would just be so simple. But we wanted to come in and experience this. We wanted to have the challenge, and we thought we could do it. You know, we really thought we could do it. And this is the last time, those of us who are alive, this is it. The game is shutting down. This is it. If we are here, this is the last chance.
All right.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And if people leave before the game is over, then that's okay too. You'll just go back to source. But at this point, if we can be here and still here when the reset is done, and I don't mean the same reset that Jason's talking about, but he does have the world script. So you have the world script, and then you have your individual script, right? And it's kind of cool to know what's going on in the world script, sort of, but it really doesn't matter because ultimately it's your vibration and your script that matters. And what you want to do is be out of your script so that you are able to navigate the way that you want to navigate and create the experiences that you want to create. Because if you're in the script, you're not consciously manifesting. You're just going along for the ride, which is basically your astrology.
Your background, like an NPC, right? And you sort of, I'm just thinking of it as far as gameplay. You know, if we look at this as a game, I mean, clearly no one wants to play a game that they know how to win, right? Because where's the challenge, right? So you sort of go in and you know the situation and what's around. It might be, you know, whatever. You know, you're a soldier in this country and you've got these and these, but you don't know what you need to do to get to the end of the game and to win. So,
right,
yeah.
But then if you get that ping to begin to raise your vibration, then all the steps that takes, because you're talking about deprogramming the subconscious mind, you're talking about getting rid of habits that are lower vibrations, you're talking about changing how you perceive things, you're talking about becoming extremely confident in who you are and being able to anchor into the present moment so that nothing can pull you out of that. And even if you are pulled out of your present moment, learning how to stay just in the present day, because that's how it works. It's one day at a time. So you guys are talking about the dreams and what happens at night. That's when the matrix takes the energy that we've lost during the day, that we have given up through our choices and lack of alignment. That's when it harvests the energy from us. Whether they're good dreams or bad dreams, it doesn't matter. If you're dreaming, there's emotion attached, and emotion is not a good thing. Emotion is going to drain you of your battery.
Okay, so so you're saying that the dream, the act of dreaming, is literally us being fed on, being drained of energy. So now, I mean, and no doubt you've seen the chat, and everyone hopefully in the chat who's watching this has. You know, we've had some talks about dreaming on Tartari Australia, and I was sort of trying to get that point across, is that we associate the dream state with dreams, right? The things that we want that are good, you know, my dream house, my dream car, all this kind of stuff. But is the dream state necessarily good? This is the thing, you know, it's also full of nightmares and all these other bits and pieces. Right. Yeah, exactly. So is it good, or has it been you know, taken over as well? And yeah.
And nothing's been taken over. That's the other thing that I really want to say in all of this. This is a big part. Like,
yeah.
Nico, my cat's getting the stop, honey.
Yeah. So the whole Archon-y.
Yeah, so all of them are there. Yeah. Like that's there, right? Like I remember Harold Kautzvella coming out back in 2012, and we were talking about the archons and the black goo and all this stuff, right? Like it was so exciting, and you know, like everything started to make sense. And then of course the vid comes along. You've got the graphene, which of course is the goo, and all the stories and all the drama.
Yep.
World script. Don't need to pay attention to it. It's not that important. You know, it's still drama. Like there's nothing to be afraid of. Nobody's taken anything over. Nobody's hijacked it. like in the script that has happened, but that is still within the matrix.
So,
That is what we wrote.
The world script is basically like the gameplay, right? That if I take it back to a game, that's like the boundaries of the game is the script that they want you to play, right? And but then I guess if you start sort of going outside, that's when you start to sort of win. And because it's two worlds, right? I mean,
yes,
they're trying to make us believe that the script they give is our script, right? That the outside equals the inside. So this script, right, or the script writers, right, the author's authority, do you see that as just part of the gameplay? Because obviously every game you need an enemy, right? Or else it's hard to get a point into it.
Right. And the whole point is to get the emotions going, because that's what the matrix feeds off of, is your emotions.
Yeah.
So whether you call it lushing or whatever, whether it's sports, concerts, TV, anything that gets you in a reactive state versus you being in a neutral state where you can then respond with the emotion that you choose to feel from an internal perspective.
Okay.
You know, usually being gratitude or whatever, but gratitude should always be the foundation. But all of those events, it's all to put you in fear, some fractal of fear. Because again, we live in duality, right? Love and fear. Everything on the negative aspect is a fractal of fear, whether it's lack of self-worth, lack of self-respect, anything. It's all fear, right? And so that's what everything that they feed you in the world script is based off of. Now, with that being said, because we're in the duality, it has to balance itself out with love, but it takes twice as much hate to balance out love. So it's a 2-to-1, which is why everything is so crazy right now, because most people who are waking up and raising their vibe, they're going for love, not neutrality. So they're still in the duality. They're not up here in neutrality. So as they're raising the love, this chaos has to raise too. But it's all part of the script. And it's going to play itself out.
Yeah. It's like if you had two people playing chess and they're in the game moving the bits, and then there's, the master watching them play, right? And he can see from both sides what's happening, but he's not involved. So it's, and this is a thing, like people, people don't like it when you say things like emotions, it could be bad and dreaming could be bad and all this kind of stuff. I think we all understand though that emotions attach you to things. They do. They attach you to things. So is there, you obviously touched on the inner and outer. Are we talking external, so emotions that are triggered or created from the external world are basically the loosh, the feeding, but what comes from inner is a different, as far as love and this, because people are going to go, hang on, I love my kids, right?
Yeah, love
but
is
again,
still...
that can keep you attached to the simulation, right?
So love is still in the dualistic world. It's still in the duality.
Yes, okay, I get you. And
so the first step that is always looked at for me is, am I still in that realm? Am I still in the dual?
Yes. So the next one up is oneness, right? There's no separation, so there can't be love or hate. There just is.
Well, and the thing is, we created this whole damn thing. We created the archons. We created everything. All of it. It's our energy because we are source. So there's no reason to fear any of it. There's no reason to hate any of it, fear any of it, any aspect of that. It's all us. And when we can learn to enjoy the experience of the matrix, then it will feed us more experiences to enjoy. Even if the world script is playing out over here in somebody else's experience, our personal script is completely different.
Yeah, and we're seeing this a lot play out at the moment with, clearly there's a lot of, information, being thrown at us. But there's also a lot of this, I'm right, you're wrong going on, sort of, which is complete duality, right? You know what's going on, right? There's tons of it. And that would basically be...
Actually, I don't know a lot of what's going on, to be honest, because I haven't had a TV in over 20 years.
Oh, the TV. No, I don't watch TV.
I don't really, when somebody tries to talk to me about stuff, I'm like, I'll listen a little bit. If the sky is falling, maybe tell me, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone's just getting triggered, is what it is,
They
right?
are.
Everyone's yelling, world change, and this kind of thing, which is, basically when you think about it, that would be the game trying to keep you in it. Like it's emotional attachment, isn't it? Because
Totally.
emotion is emotion, whether that's you being annoyed at someone or hating or getting revenge or whatever. That's
Mm-hmm.
and what's happening is all these truth is whatever. I don't like labels, but people that are searching and trying to grow, they're off doing their own things, and then all these other people are sort of coming along like these little yappy dogs, going, look at me, rah, rah, rah. And all they're really doing is trying to get you emotionally attached back into the world story, as you call it,
Mm-hmm.
which will take us away from our path because we're heading towards oneness, and they're like, no, 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 come back to duality, focus on this.
Right.
Mm,
And it already is oneness. It already
it
is.
already is. Yeah,
There's nothing
that's
that we
it.
have to
Yeah.
go do. We already are there. There is no separation.
I mean, and it's very profound, isn't it? Because if everything's fine and we're fine, then we don't need to be running around following rules and getting jobs and doing what we're told, do we? We just need to sort of trust and live our lives in the moment. And we all
Yes.
know that's where the power is, right? We all know that people who are following routines and doing what they're told aren't powerful. It's the ones who do something different, stand upright and say, no, I'm doing this. They're the ones that everyone's like, whoa, hang on, what happened there?
Right. Mm-hmm. But we have to get through that subconscious programming to get to that point, to break out of the script, to do something different, to notice, how have I been programmed? What's my belief system?
Mm,
And one of the biggest ones is, and most people have done this, they've grown up in religion. So they think like karma or sin or a judgment of something is how it works, right? Like, oh, I did something bad, so something bad's going to happen to me. Because the subconscious is the thing that manifests and creates your reality. If you don't pull those weeds out, holy moly, you're just going to keep circling,
mm.
keep repeating. So,
Yeah,
and
so
it's,
if you believe that, then you make it true.
yeah,
Mm, yeah,
yeah. So there
but
is
it's
no, like, yeah, there is no karma. There is none of that. It's a
mm,
belief.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the whole placebo thing, right? Like, if it
yeah,
applies to a pill, it applies to everything.
yeah. I
White people
agree.
don't get that.
It does my head in, man. We've had placebo since the 50s, the last century, and people still don't
Right?
get it. Like,
I
what?
know. Because their brains have been so compartmentalized,
Mm,
like, think about this way, think about this way, think about this way. And nothing should ever cross. And that's not how it works. Because again,
mm,
it's all one and it all feeds together. So if you can let the walls fall and let everything kind of come together, then you begin to perceive things differently. And the opportunities that are there begin to present themselves.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking a lot about masks lately and the masks we wear, which is kind of this thing like that people do to stay in the system, like willingly. They're like, oh, I don't really want to, be myself. I just gonna, play the game and pretend to get along because again, they think everything's physical. And this has been done, with that topic that we can't really talk about to do with, maintaining our avatars. They
Mm-hmm.
love to pick that apart and focus on one bit of it. This is the problem when clearly if we're an energy field and we're a vibration, then it's the vibration that it's a holistic thing that needs to be done.
Right. It's not spiritual. That's the other thing. Like, it is not spiritual. It's just a fact. It's just source. It's just frequency. It's how everything works. There's no woo woo.
Really? So people
Yeah.
can't be more spiritual than me? I just needed a cushion.
We're going to have to like do an only cams with a guru.
Yeah.
Oh, you are never going to live that down,
I
dude.
know, right? I should
I
never have
love
made
it.
that mistake. I'm gonna have to
So
start a
funny.
channel now. I'm gonna have to start a website. But yeah, I mean, this is another thing that's coming up at the moment is we've been told, by experts again, and this is the thing, right? It's like we have these experts in self-help, right?
Hmm.
And so it's literally they're going, yeah, yeah, look outside yourself and listen to outside yourself so you can fix what's inside yourself.
Yes, the Savior program. Oh my God. Yes, the Savior program is huge, either wanting a savior or wanting to be someone's savior. because
Yes,
they
which is another
themselves
big
don't feel
one.
important,
Yeah,
right?
and that doesn't mean that you want 500 or a million. It could just mean one or two people, right? You just want to. I'm here to help. I'm helping you.
Right.
And the funny thing is, most of those people are the ones who need the most help.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And you can see how these programs play out in your own life and in other people's lives, you know, and as you do the work, you can just start to look at people and be like, I know right where they're at. Because when you've done it yourself, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through that right now, but you can do it.
You can
Don't give
do
up.
it.
It gets easier, I promise.
Mm. Um, so have you got any tips on how we do this? Like if people are out there and they're like, oh yeah, but I'm not, what do I do? How do I get
Sure.
this knowingness?
Yeah, well, so the easiest ways to raise the vibe are going to be what you're putting in the body, first of all. So, the way we wrote the game, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, but we're not supposed to eat meat. That's that's not. It's just the way we wrote it. There's a lot more to it. I don't want to get into too much on this call and overwhelm or anything, but there are a lot
Just
of
a,
reasons why.
just a quick question there on that. What do you see about like eggs? Do you like vegan, or do you think like eggs, honey, dairy? What are your thoughts on that?
So okay, so okay, the whole vegan movement was a psyop. So what it comes down to, like don't title things. Personally, I don't title things. It comes down to what do you feel you need in that moment. So the whole if you're eating meat, you're done. The game's over for you. You're toast. And when I say meat, it's the flesh. It's the blood, meat, um, anything with a heart,
Yeah, yeah,
really. So insects, anything that had a heart. Now, outside of that, if you feel the need to eat cheese or your body's craving an egg or something like that, of course, listen to it. But eventually, you won't want those things. You won't need those things. And maybe you go forward, you raise up a little bit and then you have to drop back a little because you got tested on something. So you were physically strained. So you're feeling like you need something that is not your normal, right? So you
mm,
have an egg or something, but that's okay. It's just learning to listen to your body, but it's
mm.
about not killing to eat it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, not taking other life. So
It's a life force. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And like,
And of course,
and
that's all a script as well, isn't it? I mean, because the believing you need
oh my
certain
gosh,
things is the
yes.
script as well, because they teach us that it's all got to do with the like calories, right? Energy, kilojoules, all this kind of stuff, which is complete crap. It's
Mm-hmm.
all energy signatures. My sort of analogy is, inside our bodies, we've got all these locks, right? And the food are the keys. And you got to unlock things to let them go. So it's not an energy thing. It's not, the way that, because they teach us it's all physical. That's why they like
Right.
cut bits out of us and stuff.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and that's why, at least in America, the schools and even I'm pretty sure too, if you need financial assistance, if you're on some type of a government program, uh, meat and dairy are subsidized. So they're easy to get, super cheap. It's what, dude, I remember reading a story like 10 years ago of McDonald's had turned down, this may have even been longer than that. McDonald's had turned down some meat that they didn't want to buy, which we all know is, whatever, if it's even meat. Uh, and the public schools took it and they fed the kids it. Like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Yeah,
So,
and we know
yeah.
what they do with, a couple of years ago, they were shutting down, the whole food shops and that and ripping out people's gardens, vegetable gardens and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, just looking at it from that perspective, like you said, meat and dairy, yeah, have as much as you want, free, cheap, try and grow your own veggies. Not allowed to do that.
Right. We'll turn
So,
your water off.
yeah, there's a message there. So for all these
Yes.
meat eaters, are they doomed or what can they stop eating meat?
They can. They can stop eating and they have time. They still have time to get their vibe up, but that's a huge deal breaker. That's the number one deal breaker. And then of course, drugs, alcohol, orgasm. People aren't going to like that one either.
Back to the sex, man. This has been coming up lots. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
the whole, pornography thing is not good.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, and with with sex is well, as far as I can work out is people want to do it every day now, right? But that's not how it was done in the past. It was more sort of ritualistic and sort of done, I don't know, maybe once a month or whatever. I don't know the frequency.
To procreate.
Yeah, to create, to procreate, to do it professionally, create professionally, right? And now it's just, it's all like, get as much as you can. And I haven't looked into females too much, but with males and the whole, ejaculation and that, there's a lot of research that literally dumbs you down. It's taking your spirit out. People get foggy mind in that if that's all they're doing. So, it's kind of our essence, right? It's our most creative thing we've got in ourselves, right?
It's a huge zap to your battery. And that feeling that you feel when you have an orgasm, that's your source energy. That's your unique vibration that you're sensing in every cell of your body when you have an orgasm. And it depletes your battery for a full day.
Okay.
It's a huge cost, but you can get that sensation. So in my writings, I call it a walking orgasm. Like that's the sensation that you want to be anchored into and just constantly rotating through your body and exuding in every moment as you're breathing. Like feel how good that feels, and then you're open and you can feel the flow and the muscles relax and you're in the flow of life, right? And it's just this good feeling. And it may not be like that super high pinnacle, like that super high, but it's up there.
Yeah.
And if you can maintain that as you migrate through your day, that's...
Well, I mean, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's trying to get that pleasure from sex. It's from outside you, right?
Yes.
Again, and the walking thing you just talked about is just from inside you. So again, it's this whole, being tricked that the answers are outside and all these, and it's almost like there's like bad copies, right? Of what we feel inside, like outside. So like, the sex thing is sort of, you can get that pleasure in that, but it's quick, it doesn't last long, it depletes your battery, or you can go inside and get the same kind of feeling, but it's a different thing.
Right. It feeds you. It's endless. You'll never run out of that sensation. And you control it.
Is that because we're trying to project our energy outside of ourselves rather than just sort of channel it into ourselves, if you know what I mean?
What do you mean by why is that?
So like you were saying about orgasm is basically connecting, feeling your source energy. So is the reason, so when you do it yourself and you don't get depleted, you're just taking that energy into yourself, or connecting right internally. But when it's sex and that, it drains you. Is that because you push, and literally, I guess we're literally pushing the energy out of ourselves, right?
Right. Right. It's a cost. So it's learning how to control our avatar. We have to learn how to maintain and get this thing under control. All of the urges, all the cravings, for sex, sugar, any of the things, both externally and even internally, like when we're not whole. So relationships are very, you have to be cautious with relationships because as most people are aware, or maybe they're not, but when you're in a relationship, there's a lot of compromise going on. And it's a whole different experience, being by yourself versus with someone else. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with themselves. They don't know themselves. They're always looking for somebody else to complete them, to make them whole, to make them happy. They're bored. I'm like, oh my gosh, can we please delete that word? That word should not even exist in the human language. It means you're not taking the time to get to know yourself. Because I'll tell you what, I'm cracking up all the time at myself. I am the biggest freaking goof. Like I am peanut butter falcon. Okay, like that's my nickname because I'm so retarded. But yeah, it's like we have to get to that inner alchemy, that inner. It's not just on a sexual level. It's okay. So, okay. So a little bit to share. The us that are dialed into this part of the game. So it's a dream within a dream. Okay, we're a dream within a simulation, and then source. So we were source. We are source. We built a matrix. We're playing in the matrix. Some of us decided to write another matrix. So there's this matrix that some of us have gone asleep in, and we're dreaming this. Okay. This body that's dreaming this, let me how do I say it? It has male and female. It's male and female. And let's see, how do I get into this?
Is that what, hermaphrodite? Yeah.
No, well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's male and female, and yes, basically it's a hermaphrodite, but it has the energies of male and female. And when we came into the game, we split into a male and a female player. So each person has a male and a female character in here, which is why we think we have soulmates that we're looking for, but we don't. It's our twin. It's our other half that we're feeling that we're sensing in the game, that we're thinking we need to find, but you don't need to find them. You never want a relationship with them, at least a romantic relationship. You'll probably come in contact with them at some point, but because of that, we can sometimes have a sense that we're not whole, that we need the other half of us, that we need our twin flame or whatever the new agey version is, to complete me. But that's not it. You have to find the inner alchemy within yourself to feel the male and the female balance. So you're not too masculine, you're not too feminine. The aspects are coming together, and then there's no desire for any type of sexual intercourse because you're whole and complete. There's nothing outside of you that you're needing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I think we're probably triggering a lot of people at the moment.
I know. There's a lot of craziness outside of this.
It is. But the thing is, think about the word bored, right? I'm bored. I've got a big hole in me, right? A borehole. Bored, yeah, boring a hole.
Yes.
It's so boring, right? And that is these people with holes in them, and you get two of them, and they're not complete, and they think if they get together they'll make one complete person, which is this, like you sort of said, people can feel not quite complete, but that's always on the inside, right? That's always something you need to go in for, and unless you're you're happy with yourself and you're complete as yourself, you're never going to find a good relationship anyway.
Right.
And good relationships, like we've said, aren't predicated on the physical. They're not just, we have great sex and that's it, right? What happens 20 years down the track when you're in the kitchen, you've got nothing to say to each other?
Right. When she goes through menopause and doesn't want to have sex anymore.
Exactly. So it's, and it's all, it's all programming, because, if you just think about the whole structure of raising children, it's much better to have one child and raise them properly, right? Than have 15 running around and none of them get raised properly, and then they all run out and have 15 that, so it makes sense that it should be a more of a, procreation.
Right. Well, and even children, there's no need to have children, which I am a mom and I love being a mom, but I know life would have been completely different without her. As you know, you're a dad, like everything changes. And so that focus, just like if you're in a partner relationship, the focus that could be on you, which isn't being selfish, that's another thing that people have to really understand. When you're focused on you and doing what's right for you, you're not being selfish. You're just having good self-care. And if you don't take care of you and if you're not whole, then you're not good for anybody, and especially if you're a parent, you've got to set that example. Otherwise, they're just going to follow what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think just having both, good examples around, just because kids learn by mirroring, right?
Yes.
We're not there to tell them what to do and to tell them how they should think, and that we just sort of show them how to live. So what are your thoughts on that then? If we don't need to have children, like, I guess we're going to come back to time doesn't exist, right? Where we all think there's this big time thing happening, and past and present and future. So do we not need to keep populating the game because we're near the end, or do you think that that's just always been
it's always been a trap?
Or it's always
it's so So in somebody's personal script, they could have had written in it that they were supposed to have children. And if they didn't raise their vibration high enough in time, they probably still did. However, if you woke up in time and became aware of that, the fact that you have an option, that you don't have to just do what you thought you had to do, that you have a million options, more than likely you won't have the children. If you're aware of what the game is and what's going on, more than likely, because then you realize how important it is to stay focused on you and your journey. And that's inclusive of even a partner relationship. It's very difficult if you're not with someone who understands this game, who gets it, holy moly, it's very difficult. And oftentimes people end up getting stuck at the frequency that they're at because the person that they've partnered up with isn't going to climb with them. So as they're trying, right? So then you're trying to climb. Yeah, you're trying to climb and they're like pulling you down.
Come back here.
Yeah. And how many times have we vibed out of relationships, right? Like you just vibrate out, people disappear or jobs disappear, you move out of locations because your frequency has changed. And what happens is people then fall in love and get attached, and then they don't want to leave that connection, that relationship, whatever it is, because they don't want to hurt the person, or they don't want to be judged like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think if I get divorced and I go off and do my own thing, even though that's what's screaming inside of me that I need to do. I'm so afraid to do it, even though that would be the best thing in the world for that person to do. Like they would need to do it for their journey.
It's a big script, isn't it? The whole family thing. Having Huge. Kids, like it's so, like what would happen if no one had kids?
But it's just a game. So the NPCs have kids.
So the NPCs, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they keep populating it, and it's literally, it's just a game for us to play. And they're okay. Yeah.
And we're coming to the end. We don't have long left.
So are people who, are weirdos, are we having NPC children or normal? Like, how do you see that?
So sometimes, yeah. Sometimes. So it comes through the mother. The soul continues through the mother, and a mother can have all non-source players or all source players or a combination. It just depends.
So it's more on who's coming in. Who's coming in decides sort of what their best situation will be.
Yeah, and it's the same soul family.
Okay,
so we rotate.
That's interesting. So it's almost like the NPCs also act as a way for us to come in to the game.
Sure.
And then we play around it, and they're really just the background, but we're getting caught up thinking we're the background.
Right. Great statement. That's a great statement. And the other thing, people have to realize that, okay, again, we created all of it, so it's awesome, first of all, but there are NPCs that are very helpful to you. They're wonderful. They can support you on your journey. They can give you opportunities that you didn't know were there. It's not a bad thing. It's not a dualistic, like, just because they don't have a soul, they're useless. Absolutely not. That's not the case at all. It's learning how to navigate the relationships and understanding, how to communicate and develop things so that it is beneficial for you and for them, regardless of what type of frequency they are.
Yeah. So it's not like, it's not a we're better than them, they're all robots. Right. They should do what they're told or anything like that. Or and so obviously, there's been a bit of stuff going on in the last 2 years, and everyone's, ranting, raving, it's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad. Do you see? I mean, clearly that's the script, but the more I look at it, I don't see it as bad. I see it as good, right? Everyone's, it's giving us so much information. Is that how do you see that? Is that the program is always basically the base algorithm is to help us get through the game, or is it that we see it different to other people because we're on a different frequency? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So as you raise your vibe, you can see the game. You see it so clearly. I mean, you literally, as I go through my day, stuff just flies right by. Whatever's happening, whatever. And just staying focused in the moment, especially in the moment, if you can. Sometimes, you'll get pulled off for a second, but come back, retrieve that energy. That's the other thing. People need to realize you have intention with what you're doing. You can intend to pull your energy back. Like if you get upset, instantly pull that energy back. The moment you realize you've come out of the state of neutrality, retrieve it, bring it back, put it back in your battery. You can do that. It's constant awareness. But I forgot where I was going with it.
Yeah. No, there's just I mean, all most people seem to do is run around giving out their energy.
Yes.
Giving it out.
And we have
to the point where they do it because they think they're helping other people.
Mm-hmm. Because they have a savior program running.
They have a savior program running. And so is it do you think that's an NPC program, or is that like like, are we programmed, or do we come in here and we just pick up the programs that we choose to pick up, and that's all but they're like I said before, NPC programs that we're taking on.
So each of us wrote the game very specifically for ourselves.
Okay, so we're the programmers.
Yeah, we programmed ourselves based on what we wanted to challenge ourselves with, and our bets that we wagered are based on the difficulty of that process.
Okay. So yeah, basically we've decided to come in here and we can decide I'm just going to have an easy cruisy game, or I'm gonna really make it hard for myself and see what happens, kind of. So it's all us basically.
Right. And none of it's easy. It's never easy. Yeah. Like
no,
there's always going to be work to be done.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how much of the programming are you giving yourself? What is it? Is it the unworthiness? Is it that I'm afraid of my own power? That's a big one. Because people really are, right? And it's like, what? You mean I can manifest that like that? Or because the opposite side of that too is you're responsible for if it all falls apart as well. And people just don't want to step into that power. And for me, I've always loved that perspective, because it's all on me. I don't have to rely on anyone else. If I win, it's all me. If I lose, it's all me. No one else.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, and this is, I guess, what we've been talking about for so long. It always comes back to just going inside and learning who you are, right, and finding out what you want to be and doing it. And I mean, a big thing is the action, right? I mean, we've had this, God, what is it, 40 years of people sitting on cushions saying, no, you just got to see it in your head. You just got to say this word 50 times. And
right.
It will change,
Right.
But it hasn't. This whole self-help thing is sort of everyone's starting to question that as well. So it's all falling apart. But like we said before, that's all the game, right? Trying to get us projecting outside of ourselves, listening to other people's advice. And one thing is, as well, is no one knows what's best for you. Only you do. Right. So if someone's sitting there telling you this is how you do things, this is how it must be done, run, don't walk,
Right. Exactly. The best thing you can do is sit by yourself, spend a lot of time by yourself and get to know who you are, how you made yourself, and look at all of it. You have to look at the awesome parts of you where you're like, man, I'm cool in this game. And then you have to look at the parts of you where you're like, whoa, wow, I'm capable of some pretty serious crap that like I'm kind of evil. I didn't think I had that in me, but guess what? For as good as you are, you can be just as bad. And you have to look at all of that. And that's that part of having the just the maturity to look at both sides and accept it and not deny it. Don't keep it in the shadow. Don't keep it in the dark, and integrate it into yourself and love that part of yourself. Accept that part of yourself.
Make it one, because the I'm bad and I'm good is the duality again, right? Where when it's like, well, I'm all of that, and so how can I be bad if I've done all this good? How can I be, it's like the whole thing. So I mean, we're pretty much saying the same thing, aren't we? Like over and over. I mean, but I guess this is a message, right? It is a program. This whole world, simulation. It's here to sort of will teach us, but clearly we take ourselves, and I think So do you think we take, or how much, how much, um, like how much choice do we really have down here, do you think? Like, is this like a scripted thing where we sort of, can sort of bounce off the edges a bit, or can we come in here and just completely stuff the whole thing up?
So when you're in your script, you're not in choice. It seems like you have choice, but you only have a choice of like 3 or 4 options that have been written in the script.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those books that you read,
Yeah,
and
choose
if
your own
you
adventure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then turn to a different page,
Yeah.
that's the script. But when you raise your vibe high enough, everything's possible.
Then it's a
And the
book.
higher
Mm.
exactly, and as you raise your vibration higher and higher, more options become available that
Yeah.
you couldn't see before because your ability to perceive changes, and the downloads, the information that you get, I don't even want to call it downloads because it's from your DNA. Like you know what I mean? It's like it's so weird.
Remembering
It's
almost.
a
Yeah, yeah.
frequency.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but yeah,
Knowingness.
knowingness, exactly.
Knowingness.
Well, yeah, and then the overlay, right? So that was another word that was freaking me out because I've been calling it the overlay for a long, long time.
Yeah, right.
And so many people are in the overlay, that they're just absorbed into it. But even that, the overlay and then the non-overlay is still all the script. It's still all the world script.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's
So this
still
whole
all good.
and yeah, yeah. So looking for evil, looking for the ones that have entrapped us and all this kind of stuff is complete duality, isn't it? That's complete
Yes,
script.
you're wasting your battery. Conspiracies, and here's the thing too, like it's so hard with those of us who have souls. We can sense, what that things aren't right. We can sense that there's been this thing that happened. And so we start going and trying to find it and look for it and figure it out and all this stuff. But we have to stop looking out there and take that energy and apply it to ourselves, to simply raising the vibe. What
Yeah.
choices do I need to make more wisely? Where can I be stronger? Where can I be better? Because none of that matters. Ultimately, none of that matters out on the outside.
And it's probably all just sort of there to trigger us into asking questions, right? It's like with the
Yeah,
whole Tartaria, old world research, and some people sort of, focus on, well, is this possible? And the minute details and rah 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 rah, where especially Kelly and I are trying to take it as, wow, what can we learn from that? Look what they did. How do we bring that into us? How do we recreate that? And we're not talking about
right.
building a building, right? We're talking about the attitude, right? The Tartarian
Yes,
consciousness, as we call it, like, and that's what we're trying to do, is bring that as a concept in and get people to see something different,
right.
rather than like
And
history's all a lie. Oh my god, like we're so oppressed, rah rah rah.
what we're capable of,
Yeah,
like as a
exactly. Yeah,
human.
look what we've achieved in the past, kind of thing. We can do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, when we're not eating these certain foods or, living in a certain lifestyle, what is this vessel capable of really doing?
Mm. All
So I
right.
have
So
to just show you real fast because
yeah,
you
yeah.
said Tartaria. When I first moved here to Maui, I don't know if it's going to show up right, but this is a juicing company, and
Oh
their
yeah, yeah.
title
Tartaria Juice Co.
Tartaria Juice Company.
Nice.
No joke. So when I went to the farmers market, I was like, dude, do you know? And they
So
know,
did
they know what's going on. So it strikes a whole nother
so they
conversation.
knew about Tartara?
Yep, on
Nice,
purpose. That's why they titled it that.
nice. So good segue. What are your thoughts on all this Tartaria old world research and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, but again, it's part of the world script.
Yeah.
Because what matters is right now. Like, what am I experiencing right now in my world, and what do I want to create to continue to experience? Now, you can have the research and doing that being part of the experience that you want to have, or you can create something completely different. But like you're saying, you're not coming at it from the perspective, or the intention behind spending the energy on it isn't fear-based, and it's not dualistic. It's
Mm.
actually wanting to bring something new in. So I think it's amazing. The buildings, yeah, I've never believed in history. Like all of us, you're looking at the photos, like the Vanilla Sky stuff. I used to say it when I was a kid. I'm like, none of this makes sense. None of it. And then you have these weird people staring at you in the photo, right? Like out of the blue, just some weird guy like looking at you. And now you see that he's painted in. You're like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Mm.
It's a whole different there have been different timelines in this
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this
Well, this is
matrix
yeah. That's
in
a bit
different resets. So this
it,
goes with the resets that Jason talks about. And, and there have been we have multiple lifetimes and multiple so we've lived the same lifetime multiple times. The majority of people have lived the same lifetime multiple of times,
okay.
as well as other lifetimes. So we don't just do one once, we do it multiple times. We chose, not everybody has the same amount of characters in here. So when we fractalized into becoming a player of this matrix, we decided how many game pieces, how many players we wanted in the game, and then what they were going to experience. So they can have all different timelines, all different realms. It's kind of cool. But this is the final one right now that we're in. This is it. This is it. And any other version of you that's existing right now, that's cool too. But this is the version of you that your consciousness is in.
Yeah, exactly. That we're experiencing consciously.
Yeah.
So
And it just takes one version of you to win, just one.
right. Yay.
But most of them aren't going to. Like nobody's ever won the game before. Nobody's ever won it before. It has been won now, but that's a whole different conversation that we can talk about in a different.
Wow, yeah.
Which is also really cool.
Yeah. Um, so do you see I mean, obviously the whole time thing doesn't exist. So do you see as Tartarian and the old world and all those buildings that as some kind of bleed in from another game? Do you think that ever actually existed in this game? Or are
Yes.
is it just sitting there as the past in this game?
Right. It's sitting there as the past in this game at a different time in this game. I don't even want to say the past because that's kind of, but it's not, that part of the game board isn't active right now. That timeline and that part of the game board, it's not fitting for how we would experience it.
Yeah.
We're experiencing it differently.
It's literally just sort of, background, right? Like just, yeah.
It's just another carrot that potentially could be a conspiracy for someone to get sucked into.
And I suppose everything like that, again, we have the choice, right? Like it can be a conspiracy that you get sucked into and you start, raging out on people, or it can be, a reminder of who you really are, right? So everything again is how we take it, which is, I guess, the oneness, right? Not judging it as good or bad kind of thing.
Yeah, be inspiring. There. Yeah, but everything, we are within this one, whatever our eyes can see, whatever we're sensing through this whole thing, that is this game. It's all the game. Like everything that is here, we are in the game. You know what I mean? All timelines, past, present, it's all within this enclosed game that we're playing.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. And it's all a simulation. All right. Well, I mean, give me a lot to think about there. I think that's a lot of information. So we might sort of end this one here, but we'll definitely have to do a part two. I'm probably going to get a call from Kelly saying she wants to talk to you as well.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Now, do you have? You were mentioning you were doing writings and things. Do you have like a website or anything like that? If people,
you know what, I pulled everything down and all my old stuff. It's just still on Facebook. Like the last round of things, it's just on Facebook.
All right.
I pulled down Instagram, and I don't even write. Like in the last few months, I've just stopped because now it's kind of like what we had done before. I put the information out there. Whoever's supposed to see it will see it, and other than that, focused on my game.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. So you've pulled out of the script. Nice. All right. Well,
but it's so amazing, and I just want to say thank you. It's exciting to see you putting together all the different aspects that, like, I remember being so excited about learning, with Dr. Emoto and frequencies, and I mean, just everything. You're putting it all together, and it's so like, it's just beautiful to see.
Thank you. All right. Well,
So thank
thanks for
you.
that. Yeah. That was really, really good. Gonna have to watch it back and see what we said. I think it was all pretty awesome. But like I
Oh,
said, I think we'll definitely have to get you back in a few weeks or so and talk about what's happening now and the game and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
thank you for joining us. That was really good.
you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thanks heaps for
awesome.
your time. And hope you have a nice day out there in Hawaii. And we'll yeah, definitely get you back in the future, and we'll continue the talk of the game.
Cool. Thanks,
Awesome.
Campbell.
All right. Thanks for joining me. All right. And everyone out there, we will talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.